meet on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory in the Métis homeland and acknowledge the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Nakota Iska, as well as Métis and Inuit, and now settlers from around the world. I'll start with a roll call. Councillor Morgan.
Morning.
Good morning. Councillor Parmar.
Good morning.
Good morning. Councillor Rutherford. No, not yet. Councillor Wright.
Good morning.
Good morning. I do see Councillor Rutherford on the board here. There. Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Perfect. Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah. And we have Public Member Burrows, who's online, I see. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Public Member Madamambe. Right here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Wonderful. So next, before we consider today's agenda, I will oh wait, let's see if there's other members of council. Sorry, let's do that first. Other members of council. Scrolling through the list. I do not see any other members of council yet, but they are all welcome to join for Audit Committee. Next, before we consider today's agenda, I will ask all members of council present if they have any pecuniary or conflicts of interest to declare regarding any of the items to be discussed. A pecuniary interest exists when an item can monetarily affect a member of council, their employer, or family member. A conflict of interest exists when an item could affect a private interest of a member of council, their employer, or family member. Do any members of council have a pecuniary or conflict of interest to declare? Hearing no declared pecuniary or conflicts of interest, we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Morgan? Do you have that sheet here? There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, the recommendation that the February 25th, 2026 Audit Committee meeting agenda be adopted with the following changes. 7.1, Office of the City Auditor. Recommendation follow-up dashboard report as at February 6th, 2026. Attachment 1, published on February 17th, 2026. 7.2, Administrative update on the Auditor's dashboard report. Attachment 1, published on February 18th, 2026. Office of the City Auditor External Quality Assessment Report. Attachment 1, published on February 20th, 2026. And 7.7, Administrative Response to Abilities Management Program Audit. Attachment 1, published on February 17th, 2026.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's it. There we go. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, please vote on the adoption of the agenda.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Parmar. We have all the votes.
Thank you. Please display the vote. And that is carried 7-0. Next, protocol items. I don't believe there are any. We already last week officially recognized today's Pink Shirt Day, and I failed miserably at remembering my pink shirt, so I have my pink mug with me. Councillor Morgan definitely got the notice with the jacket, and Councillor Wright did. Sorry, Public Member Madamambe and I didn't. But Public Member Burrows I saw with his pink shirt. He's doing well. He's got it on. So we're and lots of folks in the gallery here with their pink shirts and jackets. So sorry, but I'll like hold this by my face so folks on the camera can see it as we go through the day. Wonderful, but an important day, and while we've already recognized it, I think it's just worth acknowledging again today. Next will be selection of items for debate. Please click
Mayor
on.
Knack, if we could approve the minutes.
Wow, it's like I've never done this before. Holy jeez. Okay, well, yeah, let's do the minutes. Somebody want to approve the approval of the minutes from the February 4th, 2026 Audit Committee?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from the February 4th, 2026 Audit Committee.
Thank you. Any questions, errors, or omissions beyond just forgetting they exist, which is not really something you can correct? Seeing none, please vote on approval of the minutes. Wow.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Parmar. Just waiting on one vote from Councillor Rutherford. We have all the votes.
Thank you. Please display the vote. And that is carried 7-0. Then I should have done protocol items. I was too excited that I forgot. Only been 12 and a half years working here. That's all right. Selection of items for debate is next. Please click on the board if you would like to select items for debate today, please. Keep an eye. We'll open up the board, and the screen will hopefully pop up for me soon so that I can see if there's anyone there. I'm sure there are. We definitely got those minutes carried. They are so excited. The minutes, there we go. Councillor Wright.
Aye, could I select 7.3 and 7.6, please?
7.3 and 7.6. If you're doing 7.6, that means 7.7 as well, since they're dealt with together. So 7.3, 7.6, 7.7. Any other selections? Not seeing any, I'll take a motion to approve all remaining items. Oh, sorry, public member Madam Ambe, do you want to make a selection? Please go ahead.
I'll select item 7.1.
7.1, and that would also mean 7.2. Okay, great. Now I'll take a motion for all remaining items. Councillor Wright?
So moved.
Thank you. Perfect. Just, I'll say very quickly, I'll speak to this omnibus motion, only because, you know, it's always odd when we don't select an audit, but I think sometimes they're just, it's good. It's good. We're doing good. The work is happening. The recommendations are being advanced. So I always just, it doesn't always happen. So on the rare occasion we don't select an audit for debate, I think we should always just acknowledge that I want to thank the auditor. I want to thank the team who now get, there's like, oh wow, we get to leave right away. So they're excited. They're already packing up, ready to go. But to say, you know, it's still important. We've reviewed them, we've read through them, but sometimes there just aren't questions because of where we're at and the work that is going to be taking place next. So nobody read anything into it other than it was good work by everyone involved, and there's always rooms for us to continue to get better, and that's what will happen with that by approving this. So that's for me. Any other speakers on this? Councillor Wright, any closing comments?
No more than that.
Thank you. All right, please vote.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor. We have all the votes.
Thank you. Please display the vote. And that is carried 7-0. Wonderful. Next, let's see. I'll actually make sure I follow the agenda here. Request to speak. There are none. Requests for time specific. We do have a request that 7.3 be the first item of business. I'll take a motion for that if somebody's willing to move that. Councillor Morgan? You can just, yeah, moving that. 7.3, that's first item of business. That's moved. Any questions on that? Not seeing any, please vote to make that item first item of business.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. We have all the votes.
Thank you. Please display the vote. And that is carried 7-0. Next, councillor inquiries. I don't believe we have any. I have not received any, and therefore that brings us to items 7.1 and 7.2. And, oh, sorry, no, holy jeez. I should just stop while I'm ahead here. I'm not even ahead. 7.3 is going to be first item of business, you know, the thing we just literally voted on. Great, I'm glad these are all kept on YouTube forever, so they can witness my failure today as a chair. Excellent, let's start with 7.3. Turn the floor over.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so today we have our external quality assessment reports. We'll go to the next slide, please. There we go. So in June 2025, Audit Committee approved our plan for an external quality assessment by an independent assessor. Per the global internal audit standards, we must undergo an external quality assessment every 5 years. Our assessment took place in December 2025 and was conducted by the Institute of Internal Auditors Quality Services. One of our assessors, Marianne Avarello, is on the call with us today. So there are 4 levels of compliance with the global internal audit standards: does not achieve, partially achieves, generally achieves, and fully achieves. Our assessors found that we generally achieve the global internal audit standards. This conclusion indicates a clear intent and commitment to achieving the purpose of internal auditing, its 15 principles, and conforming to the 52 standards. This is a favorable rating with no gaps in conformance found. Generally achieving the standards is not easy, especially given the new standards only came into effect in January of 2025. My team worked diligently to ensure compliance within a very short time frame. So there is one rating higher than generally achieved, and that's fully achieves. So in order to fully achieve the standards, an internal audit function must fully conform to all aspects of all 52 standards. The OCA does fully conform with 41 standards, and the remaining 11 standards were assessed as generally conformed as a result of improvements that could be made relating mostly to updating of documentation requirements and due to alignment of specific standards with the overall rating. So most internal audit functions will not fully achieve the standards. And next slide, please. So the assessment team found many successful practices. In the area of governance and independence, they found the OCA has well-established mandate in the city auditor bylaw. We annually confirm our organizational independence and have established opportunities to discuss significant and sensitive matters with the audit committee in private. Under quality and staff, our assessors found that we have professional, highly credentialed staff with support for development. We have a strong commitment to confidentiality and maintaining objectivity, and the city auditor champions quality enhancement. And under planning and reporting, our assessors found that we have an effective long-term strategy, we have clear and high-quality engagement reports, and we prepare a risk-based, stakeholder-informed annual audit plan. Next slide, please. The assessment identified one area for enhancement around improving the transparency and understanding of the annual planning process with the executive leadership team. We have accepted this recommendation and will revise our annual planning process to improve transparency. We will do this through the creation of a risk matrix, seeking input from the city manager and deputy city managers, and clearly communicating the audit selection rationale for the 2027 annual work plan to the executive leadership team. We plan to implement this new process in 2026 while we develop our 2027 annual plan. And as I mentioned earlier, Marianne Avarello is here. She's on the call virtually, and she would just like to say a few words, and then we can take any questions you might have.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Great. Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to confirm again what Janine had said. So the internal audit team did assess the function, and we found that there was general conformance, which is general achievement, which is again a highly qualified rating. There is an overall achievement to the standards, and this is something to be very proud of. We found that it was a pleasure working with the organization, and found that they had a high quality functioning team and worked diligently, again, as Janine had said, to meet the standard requirements, given that there was such short time that they had come into effect. So we confirm again, like as I mentioned, with what Janine had said. I wanted to make sure that that was clear. Also wanted to make sure that with respect to the 11 standards related to documentation improvements and alignment, this is something that Janine could work on if she chose to do so. Having said that, there is a cost to doing that with scarce internal audit resources. That may not be something that she will move forward on. But again, as she conforms overall to the standards and has a quality function, this is something that we would leave with her. And we have provided information to her as to what some of the things that she may want to look into if she so chooses to go forward with that. So again, I just wanted to clarify some of the things that you're seeing in this presentation. Just wanted to make sure that if there's any questions, I was available to to answer them.
Wonderful. And that's it for presentation.
Yep.
Great. Now it's now we can move into questions. This is selected by Councillor Wright. So do you have questions?
Yes, I do. First of all, I was a little bit shocked initially when I read through, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what the rating was here, but it wasn't like high marks for sort of the ethics and that. But then I read later on that one of the reasons for that rating is because there wasn't any actual, I guess, written conflict of interest adherence being done. Is that right? Or not? And I'm looking at page 4 of the internal audit.
So, Janine, did you want to go ahead and answer that, or do you want me to take care of that?
I'm good if you take care of that, Marianne.
So what we found, again, I just want to reiterate, with the generally achieves rating, that's one of the higher ratings that can be achieved, and it does ensure compliance with the standards. What you're seeing there, some of the standards have been written as GC, as generally conforms. which means that all of the things have been done that's required. There are some things that are improvements that could be made, and I don't want to say improvements. I like to say enhancements because again, they are achieving the standards. One of the things that you're seeing there with respect to conflict of interest relates to what Janine had talked about of those 11 standards and some where documentation needs to be improved. So again, they met the standard of generally achieves. If the documentation had been a little bit more informative, then they would have had that ability to meet the fully achieves. But what you're seeing is still generally achieved. So there are, again, I can't stress this enough. These are enhancement opportunities to improve the function, but as it stands right now, the function is doing very well, and they are very highly functioning and providing quality services. Does that help?
Yeah, and it is just, and so I'm reading the requiring staff to confirm independence. It's more sort of formalizing and having it in writing. Yeah.
It's the document. Yeah, what the standards, the new standards came into effect in 2025. And one of the things that they did, they wanted to put more rigor into the documentation of certain things that are being done to make sure it was not just, oh, we've done it. It was more of a show me. So if you really done it, then you've got something to document, something that's there as evidence to demonstrate that you've actually done it. And that's what we've seen. We've talked to everybody. We've done the work. Janine has got a good functioning team. We know that the work has been done. It's the documentation in some areas, and I would stress that, just some areas that needs to be enhanced to ensure that the next higher level could be met if they choose to do so.
Okay.
But they're still in compliance.
Can I add to that? We do actually have documentation for each audit that we do where the auditors and myself sign off that we don't have any conflict of interest. We also follow the city's code of conduct as well, which requires if there is a potential or perceived conflict of interest to fill out the disclosure forms, provide all of that information. So this is an enhancement to our methodology documentation that's looking here, and a potential enhancement in the city auditor bylaw as well. But yeah, I don't want to say like we do have documentation around independence and conflict of interest, and we are following it, and that's done. It's just, could we take it up another level? A little, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, when I first sort of saw the rating, and I was shocked that, yeah. And then what other, in my minute and a half left, sort of what other learnings or enhancements are you looking forward to?
So yeah, definitely the one around improving how we document and provide transparency with the executive leadership team on the audits that we choose each year, and just improving that. I'm very happy to have had that recommendation, and it's something that we were looking at already, so appreciate that one. The other enhancement opportunities, we're going to go through them all. Some of them are easy changes. We can update our documentation. Some of them, like where there might be a suggestion that we change something in the bylaw, I don't plan to come back to with a bylaw change on that. We'll enhance our internal documentation, and when the time comes to review the bylaw, we can make those changes. So it's not going to be this year. I don't think they're significant enough that it requires, that's a lot of effort on our part, from law, from the clerk, from you, to go through a whole bylaw change for some things that are not significant. So we'll take care of it in our own documentation, but that's one of the things that we might not do immediately. But the other ones, I think, most of them are just tweaks. We have a lot of templates, we have a lot of guidelines. We can add some of these things in there. But I just want to again reiterate, generally achieving is an excellent result. We're conforming with everything. These are just small changes that we could do to fully achieve.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. I'll go next, and maybe just on that point, because it's been a while, 5 years, I guess, since our last one. And with the new standards, I mean, maybe I'll start with our guest. Can you talk me through a little bit about those standard changes again, just in a little more detail, because I think it is new, and so we can't necessarily do an apples to apples comparison of how things went 5 years ago to now. Sort of, we can, but we can't. Like.
Yeah, I'll just start in here, Marianne.
Of course.
There's still the standards that they used to have, the standards that they have now. They're still very rigorous. Mm-hmm. They're still, when we generally conformed in the last go round, it's the same type of thing here. I'll let Marianne speak to maybe more of the specifics from her end as being able to audit these standards, but the amount of things we must do now has increased significantly. A lot of, I don't know how many hours we spent preparing for this, and we were already generally conforming with the old ones, right? So we had a lot of time and effort that we put into developing additional documentation, templates, guidance in order to achieve these. And that to me is one of the sort of things from the IA perspective that's increased, is that how do you show that you're achieving these standards? And a lot of that is through documentation. But maybe Marianne can go a little bit more into some of those specifics.
Sure. So there's a couple of areas that the standards have definitely added. They're asking auditors now to demonstrate courage when they're doing their audit reports, which means they can stand up and say, hey, you know, I think there's something here that needs to be discussed. I mean, that's a small thing, but very important to an internal auditor. Some of the other things that have occurred where they've been implied or inferred in the standards with what they're calling essential conditions. So that relationship, collaboration, coordination among the triad. And the triad in this case is the audit committee, the board, and the CAE, the chief audit executive, Janine. So that relationship, that communication amongst the three groups is something that they've really enhanced, I guess, and clarified and documented in terms of what the expectations are. There is, as much as Janine had mentioned, the CAE must do certain things.
Absolutely.
The other, sorry, I just want to go on one more.
Sure.
The other thing, just to clarify again with what Janina said, is the robust documentation. It's not good enough to show me. There was a lot of improvements in documentation where you need to have the documentation to support the work that's been done.
Exactly. No, thank you. And so I guess just the only question that I can still think of, because I remember a lot of the one 5 years ago, there was general conformance. And again, I think because was the last one 5 years ago, we didn't have a full conformance. The highest rating was general conformance 5 years ago. So maybe not a question, I don't know if it's easy to answer to you, Marianne, but just in case, if you look at what we had 5 years ago compared to today, I think this might be the way I can ask the question. Is there anything that you found that that at least stayed the same or got better, or is there anything that actually got worse that you could tell? Based off the ratings, I don't believe so. I just want to make sure. It looks to me, again, we didn't have a fully conformed, so it's hard to point as a one-to-one, but I think it is safe to say, from what I can gather, nothing actually got worse. In most cases, it's better or stayed the same.
That's correct. But let me just put a little bit of a context around this. So many organizations, I'll say, I said many, maybe not many. Some organizations have found that they're getting generally achieves when they're doing everything perfectly right. And the IAA decided to add a fully achieves for those organizations. But that doesn't mean that all organizations need to subscribe to being the best in class, everyone that looks to leaders in their field, etc. So that's something to consider when you're seeing that generally achieves rating. And not everyone is going to be fully achieves. And in fact, the minority of organizations who are going through quality assessments are not getting fully achieves. They are getting generally achieves. And in many cases, those organizations are saying, you know, I don't need to be that best in class. I'm perfectly fine with the generally achieves because I'm still meeting standards.
Yeah. And the way I...
The second part of your question, no, there is nothing in the files that we saw or the work that we did or the interviews that we held that will lead us to believe or demonstrated that the Office of the City Auditor is doing anything less than what they had done before. And in fact, they're doing better and have done more work to demonstrate the generally achieves rating.
That's what I love to hear. Thank you very much. Those are my questions. Public Member Madamampe, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the Office of the City Auditor for the good report. Certainly I would like to commend, the achievement that you managed to score on this one. I do have a question for the guest and one for the City Auditor as well. So for the guest, when you look at the results you are presenting, how do they compare, with similar organizations? I want to know more about, your assessment of the overall effectiveness of this internal audit function.
Well, I don't have a lot of experience with other municipalities, but instead of keeping it to a municipality, why don't we keep it to the internal audit function across different industries or different sectors? honestly, to work with the Office of the City Auditor was a treat, and I say that with every conviction. It's very much a pleasure to work with an organization and a function that is doing so well in terms of the quality of services, the information they're providing, the relationships they have, the documentation, etc. Even though there are some things for enhancement. What we're seeing across other organizations is that the city is probably one of the better organizations that has their work in place and are meeting the standards at a very high level. So in comparison, we are seeing a lot of organizations who are far less than that and who have gaps in the standards and have not achieved the standards simply because of the gaps. There are no gaps at the city. The city has no gaps. They are they are generally conforming. So in terms of what we're seeing overall, these are what the city is doing, and the rating that they've achieved is one of the I guess, fewer organizations that are able to achieve that simply because, one, the change with the standards, two, there are maybe have staff that are not being, they're not able to have, find staff that are able to have the capacity and the qualifications that are needed. So again, the city, can't stress this enough, is one of the better organizations in terms of meeting the standards at the level that they need to meet, and is probably fewer of those organizations that are able to achieve that rating simply because of the changes and things that we've mentioned.
Thank you for your comments, and again, confirms, the, assertion towards the high performance of this audit activity. I would like to follow up the enhancement piece with the city auditor. So on the action plan, there is reference to the planning process. How are you going to improve that to ensure that it involves all stakeholders?
So we are going to change how we sort of document our risk identification and assessment process to use what's known as a risk matrix. So it'll actually be showing all the auditable areas in the city. We haven't fully developed this out, but then there'll be criteria that we'll have. And it's similar to criteria we're already using, but just how we can show that in sort of a matrix and a ranking system. So this is to provide the transparency back to the executive leadership team around sort of the rationale. So we have quite a number of potential audits, and in the end we choose maybe around 10 to 12 of those audits. So we're not going to choose all the audits, and I think they're looking for an understanding, saying maybe if there was a particular audit they maybe thought we should do but we didn't do, or that we're doing that they didn't that didn't come up from them. And we get input from a lot of different places, not just the executive leadership team, so this is also why that might be different from their perspective. And so just being able to provide that back. We're also going to meet with them and get some feedback ahead of the process as well, just to see what else they might be looking for there, and then providing that back at the end of the process.
Thank you for that. And just as a follow-up, is there likely going to be an impact to the 2026 audit plan?
And I don't think so. So we're not planning to change how we get the information and even that sort of criteria on how we get the information. It's more around how do we document those decisions that we've made and then share that back with the executive leadership team. So I don't, we're still planning to do the interviews with all of council, interviews with executive leadership team, getting information. There's a whole myriad of ways we get that information and make those decisions. But what we need to do better at is how do we present that back and explain better, because like I said, there's different choices that we can make, right, on those audits, and so just providing that explanation back is I think what they're looking for, and we'll get more information from them as we move into that process as well on what they're looking for.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. There's no other questions on the board. I'll take a motion. Councillor Wright, since you selected, do you want to move the recommendation?
Sure. I move that the February 25, 2026 Office of the City Auditor Report, OCA 03425, be approved.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak to it? I would like to. So I'll just take a few moments here. Just want to thank both our Office of the City Auditor and our external group here, our external quality assessment team who did this work. Just a few takeaways. As mentioned, it's we do this every 5 years, I think one of the most important answers I heard is that nothing has gotten worse. In fact, everything has either stayed the same or as we've seen, most things have actually gotten better. Appreciate that there's new criteria or measurements that we have, but overall we can actually compare those two things and see that there's been improvement. And I think it's worth just saying amazing job to our office of City Auditor, because prior to this one, the last one that we did would have been still with David, I think. He was still with us, and David had been with us for 20 years, and so there was a lot of consistency and ability to sort of see that work carry through over the years. And we went through a lot of change in the last 5 years in our office, and that could have created a situation where things could have got worse, and in fact it got better. So to our City Auditor, to the entire Office of City Auditor, that is I wanted to say thank you, because that shows that you took those changes after 20 years of one way of doing things. We've actually gotten better, and this is a constant reminder that Edmonton has always had one of the best, if not the best, Office of the City Auditors compared to municipalities in at least for sure in Canada, if not North America. I think this continues to reinforce we have one of the best, if not the best, and that's why when we get all of the other audits, they provide so much value to us as an organization and to our city administration and to council, and most importantly to Edmontonians. So just to everyone involved, thank you. It's great to see, and I expect nothing. It's almost silly to say, but I expect nothing less now. And I'm glad we've set such a high bar for ourselves, and I know that's going to continue as the years go on. So thank you for all the great work, and I'll go to Councillor Wright to close.
Wow, that's quite the challenge there, setting that high bar, but I'm sure you're all up for that challenge. I do think it is a testament to everyone in audit, how you've managed these changes. And I think having some of that consistency, Janine, with you being there through all these changes has also been a great benefit as well. And just like as in any audit, the audits that you perform, I'm glad to see that you're taking away learnings from the audit, and learning anything that you can improve upon. I think is a great way to approach this. So thank you very much, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Thank you. Please display the vote. That is carried 7-0. Perfect. Thank you. And thanks to our guest. Thank you, Marianne, for joining us. Hope you have a great day. Next, we're going to move on to 7172. And let's just make sure we're ready for that. That's the follow-up report. I think you do have a presentation, so or a single slide presentation, but it's a presentation nevertheless.
It's a presentation. And I believe, Stacey's joining
Yeah,
as
we'll get
well.
Stacey over here. And
I will get started. First of all, just thank you very much for those kind words and a little bit extra pressure, but that's okay. All right, so now we are presenting our recommendation follow-up report as at February 6, 2025. Recommendation follow-up work is performed by multiple people. The report you get is prepared by Leslie Glasby and Jeannie Kim. The dashboard is maintained by our data scientists Alfred Apia and Jasmine Zip, and the work to follow up on the recommendations is performed by the lead auditors and the project managers. I also want to recognize and thank the administration for the effort they put in to work with the auditors and to support the follow-up work and to implement the recommendations. The recommendation follow-up process is essential for an effective audit process. It ensures council, administration, and the Office of the City Auditor know the prior recommendations and risks are being addressed. In our last follow-up report, which was in September of 2025, there were 42 outstanding recommendations. Since then, we've made 14 new recommendations, and we've also closed 22 recommendations. The 22 recommendations we closed address risks and led to improvements relating to affordable housing funding decisions that relate to an affordable housing investment program and below market sales agreements, the evaluation of the city's homelessness plan, dedicated accessible transit services, environmental and climate governance, facility maintenance services, and compliance with the city's municipal funding arrangement policy, and evaluation of outcomes achieved from the grants and subsidies. So there are now 34 outstanding recommendations, with 5 that are overdue. Of those 5, 2 are more than 1 year overdue, and the rest are less than a year overdue. We did leave the 2025 statistics on the dashboard that's in the report, and this was to show that in 2025 we closed 37 recommendations, and administration closed 82% of recommendations due in 2025 on time. And I think Stacey had a few words to add.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this update. I'm acting for Mr. Robar this week, and I'm happy to provide updates on our progress. So we continue to work internally to improve our response to audit recommendations. We receive updates on new audit recommendations on a regular basis. 29 of the recommendations are not yet due, but all of those are on target to meet their dates. As the city auditor noted, we've implemented and closed a number of recommendations. Since that last dashboard update, we've been working hard to resolve any overdue recommendations. There's now 5 remaining, but that's down from 8 in our last follow-up. We've closed 22 items since the last dashboard report, which is up from 11, which was what we closed the last time. And I'm also pleased to report that we closed 37 items in 2025 and 7 more in 2026. I mean, as Janine said, 82% of the recommendations due in 2025 were closed on time, and that is up from 47% of recommendations closed in 2024. We're working on a number of new items addressing documentation, guidelines, training, risk assessment, planning, and reporting. And we're committed to improving our processes and raising the standards for how we steward resources and perform our work with respect to these items. I'd like to thank the Office of the City Auditor and the Audit Committee for their guidance. Together, we've improved how we deliver services and programs to Edmontonians.
Great. Now we have time for questions, and this is selected by Public Member Matamambe. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the City Auditor and to the administration for the comments. So just coming back to the 22 closed items, are there any specific factors that contributed to this acceleration in closing? And if so, do you plan to use it in future periods as well?
I wouldn't say any specific factor, but I think as Stacey mentioned, like thanks to the audit committee, the sort of information that's being provided to the audit committee and what we're getting back, the administration's prioritized these and has made that happen. We do continue to work with administration throughout the process as these are being closed to ensure that we don't get to when they think it's closed and we think maybe it's not closed, and then that needs more time to happen. So we're going to continue to do that. I think that's maybe worked well to try to get these closed as well. But I think, like I said, I don't direct the administration. This was on them to do this work. And so maybe Ms. Padbury has some additional comments around what's happening there.
I would just say that we've made a more focused effort and have continuous reporting on the items now with deliberate follow-up, and we've made it clear across the city that closing these points are actually is an important part of the work that we do every day.
Thank you for that. Certainly appears to be an improvement from prior years as well, from my reading of the report. So we appreciate the effort. Following up on that is the outstanding items. Obviously, they remain a focus. The question to the city auditor is, from these items, are you also formally risk assessing them? And do you see any elevated risk arising from, the continued revision of the implementation timelines?
Yes, we definitely have been in conversations around each of these. We definitely know work is being done on all of these, so those risks that were there when we did the audit are being mitigated. There's still some things left to do in order to fully implement the recommendations and close them, and that's why they remain overdue, but definitely are in touch with administration, know that work is happening on these, so they're not it's not the same risk that was there back when we issued these audit reports. That's been mitigated in some extent, but we won't fully close the recommendation until it's been fully implemented. So we're waiting on some things.
Okay, thank you for that. And then just as a subsequent follow-up, on, the items that are not yet due, I would imagine that they are on the radar. And from there, do you formally assess, which ones are, posing the greatest implementation risk, and also how confident are you that the remaining items, will be prioritized by administration?
Yeah, so again, definitely always, and before we issue each of these reports, I do another check on these to find out if the auditors, they've been having conversations, is there anything that we should be concerned with? At this point in time, administration has told us that these are all going to be implemented on time. I don't have any concerns with that, and as Stacey mentioned, they've started to make sure that this is a priority as well, so that's helping, and so that's time will tell as well, though. I mean, some of them are not due for a while, so things do change. But I definitely am happy to see fewer overdue recommendations now. And I also understand that we're never probably going to get that down to none. It's a point in time when they tell us those dates, and things can happen that impact that. But they really have been doing a good job to try to meet those and to keep us informed when they can't as well, so we know.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else on the board. Did you want to move receipts, or let's see, oh, wait. As we follow we're not actually receiving things for information in the same way as we used to. So actually, if there's no other questions, we can actually just move on, because that means 7.1 and 7.2, we've asked all the right questions and done that work. Okay, great. So next, I think our last items of business, 7.6, 7.7. So we'll take a moment and change out the delegation.
Is it okay if I get started on this one?
Please go ahead,
We're
yeah.
Continuing to set up, but we'll start with our presentation. So this, we're presenting the Abilities Management Program audit. The audit team for this audit included Deputy City Auditor Sharon Han, Senior Auditor Tracy Lee, and Auditors Pauline Powler and Larissa Vasconcelos, as well as our data analytics team, Alfred Apia and Jasmine Zip. I also want to thank the branch management and staff of the Human Resource Client Services branch for their cooperation and support during this audit, and Sharon will give the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Janine. Our audit objective was to determine whether the Human Resources Client Services branch has an effective abilities management program that helps employees remain at work and supports timely and safe return to work. We did not look at prevention of work-related injuries, or WCB, as these areas have been looked at as part of other initiatives. We also did not look at supplementary income replacement benefits, as these are benefits for temporary workers who represent a small number of the city's workforce. Overall, we found that the branch has partially met this objective. Next slide. We had 4 key findings. We found that the branch performs quality review of its disability cases, but these processes and rationale are not documented. We found that the branch has a modified duty program, which is a process for getting ill or injured workers back to work. This process may include making accommodations to their work as well. However, the branch has not evaluated their program to identify improvements. We also found that the branch provides some business areas with a report to help monitor employee leaves, but this report is a high-level snapshot of leave information and lacks in-depth data analytics and insights. Lastly, we found that the branch does not have an evaluation framework for the abilities management program that includes establishing performance indicators, measuring indicators, and analyzing these indicators to improve the program. We have made the 4 recommendations you see on screen. Improving the abilities management program will help reduce employment costs, boost productivity, retain staff, and promote a healthier workplace by supporting employees after injury or illness. Administration will now present the response.
Thank you. We'll just wait for our presentation to come up. All right, good morning. We're pleased to present Administration's response and additional context for the Abilities Management Program audit. With me today are Catherine Sparks, Branch Manager, HR Client Services, and Stacy Klamosko, our Senior Lead of Abilities Management. This audit impacts program that serves the City of Edmonton employees and supports every branch and department across the city. We're thankful for the Auditor's Office for working closely with our teams and for sharing recommendations that will help advance our continuous improvement efforts. Administration accepts all 4 of the recommendations. I'm now going to turn it over to Catherine Sparks, Branch Manager, who will provide some context about our program and a response to the audit.
Thank you, Dennis. To deliver quality services to Edmontonians every day, the city relies on our workforce of approximately 11,500 employees to be being well and able to perform their roles. When employees experience non-occupational injury, illness, or disability, those injuries that occur outside of work, the Abilities Management Program supports them and their business areas. For clarity, workplace injury, illness, and disability events are handled by our injury management specialists in the Workforce Safety and Employee Health Branch, and benefits are provided separately through workers' compensation. These occupational events are not part of the audit or this presentation. The Abilities Management Program manages short-term disability benefits for claims between 5 and 85 days and oversees long-term disability benefits which are delivered through a third-party provider. Its purpose is to support employees to remain at work when possible and facilitate their return to work when they are able. For the organization, the program delivers responsible absence management and compliance with collective agreements and legislation. For employees, it provides structured support and maintains their connection to the workplace. Together, the program balances employee well-being, fiscal accountability, and operational continuity. As part of the backdrop to this audit, it's important to recognize the shift in the disability management landscape. Since the pandemic, attendance patterns have changed. Case complexity, particularly those related to mental health, has increased, and access to specialists and diagnostics has been delayed. These pressures are being experienced across all large Canadian employers and are not unique to the city. Next slide, please. Notwithstanding these changes, plus the lean and unchanged team resourcing, the program's 8-year performance has remained stable. Aside from the pandemic-related spike in 2020, claims volume per 1,000 FTE, or 1,000 employees, shown in yellow, have tracked consistently with workforce growth. More importantly, absence hours and cost relative to city hours and payroll costs, shown in green and blue respectively, have also remained steady and within very narrow ranges. More specifically, absence hours as a percentage of total city hours have remained within 0.5 percentage point, while costs as a percentage of payroll have remained within 0.2%. Notably, since peaking in 2022, both results have been declining over the last 3 years, which means the results are improving. In relative terms, these measures indicate that the non-occupational absence impacts have remained proportionate to overall workforce activity, and the program has maintained its operational performance. That said, in absolute terms, next slide please. In absolute terms, we must recognize and acknowledge that the cases, the total non-occupational absence hours, and the total costs have increased steadily and significantly since 2020 as provided in Attachment 1 of Administration's Response Report. Operationally, this is material because when employees are unavailable for work, services still need to be delivered. In some areas, the work can be redistributed or slowed, but in others, such as transit, 311, fire, payroll, bylaw enforcement, these positions must be backfilled to ensure continuity of service. The absences have cascading impacts, such as the creation of temporary positions, significant overtime, productivity pressures, and management and administrative coordination. All of these are material and increase as absence hours increase. At the same time, the Abilities Management team is now managing nearly 100 claims per permanent consultant, approximately double our target and industry best practice. So while relative indicators validates performance stability, the absolute cost, operational pressure, and workload challenges are real and growing. This context is important as we move into the audit recommendations, because while implementation will allow us to continually improve, we have real pressures that we must also simultaneously address. Next slide, please. So as Dennis mentioned, administration accepts all 4 recommendations. We are appreciative of the auditor's process and the identification of these opportunities to strengthen quality assurance, modify duty effectiveness, reporting, and program evaluation. Our phased implementation plan will allow us to strengthen these areas and ensure that change is embedded into operations. The proposed sequencing will prevent layering additional work onto a team already managing very high caseloads. At the same time, our priority is ensuring that the program evolves to meet the operational needs of the organization and limits the direct and indirect cost of non-occupational absence loss. The city manager has been clear on administration's commitment to loss prevention and the responsible stewardship of public resources. In parallel with implementing the audit recommendations, we will develop a broader plan to address total absence impacts, including proactive case management, early intervention, a focus at stay at work and accommodations, interventions for high risk and prolonged cases, and operational coordination across all business areas. Our objective is to not only strengthen governance, but to reduce overall loss and ensure the program is aligned with the city's quality service delivery priority and the principle of financial accountability. Again, we thank the auditor for the feedback and recommendations, and Dennis, myself, and Stacey Klamosko are here and available to answer any questions that you may have.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to questions. This was selected by Councillor Wright. Please go ahead.
Thank you. There, make it official, name on board. Okay. Okay. I guess I'm looking at slide, slide 5, the program performance. And I'm just curious, why in 2020, if we had more cases, why were the absent hours like so much less?
So in 2020, we tracked the cases that were directly related to COVID, so some of the quarantine hours. We tracked those separately from short-term disability because it actually didn't need adjudication. It didn't need some of the same processes that we have. So they were tracked separately. And then in 2022, we no longer track the isolation without pay and the quarantine, and that's why you see those costs subsequently rise. So that's kind of more of a true holistic picture. And then that's pretty much stable and steady from then on.
Okay, thank you. It just seemed really incongruent.
Yep.
And then going further into the increase from 23 to 25, when did we start having people come back into the office, like required to come back?
That was also in 2022, which is where you start to see those, that spike increase, and then what we would say is normalized for 23 through 25.
Okay. And then in the report, it talks about the indirect costs. Do we have like a dollar amount of those?
So industry standard, and what we use on our occupational side as well, is about 3 to 1. So we have very tangible indirect costs like overtime. It's hard to directly correlate which overtime costs are because of STD, so you can't do a causation, but we do know the amount of the overtime, and it would fall into that 3 to 1 range. So the total loss of STD is about $21 million, and so that would be about 60 in the indirects as well.
And 60 indirect?
Correct.
Okay. So quite an impact on our overall budget. Okay. Wow. And is that so I know this isn't WCB related, but there's premium costs through private insurers, right?
For occupational injuries, premium costs through WCB, yes, but not premium costs on STD. On LTD is paid separately.
Okay.
But our STD is basically, instead of having payroll costs to cover that employee, you are then paying their short-term disability costs instead, and that's where the indirect costs come, because if you have to backfill that position, you are unbudgeted for that backfill.
Okay, so we don't have a private insurance covering this. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. I didn't know that. And then there's the modified duties. There was a slide where you did mention about in alignment with the collective bargaining agreements, working through those okay with the unions?
Yep, unions have been very collaborative. We have a joint goal to return employees back to work and find them suitable work. It's a massive matchmaking exercise to find a like position and then something that we can accommodate with the specific modifications that are required. But we do work with the unions very closely on that and with the business areas as well. And it's about 17% of all cases need, like all of the disability management cases. So we have 3,000 from last year, about 500 of those required modifications, and we successfully found placements for about 75%, and that's been trending for about the last 4 years.
Okay, perfect. And then I'm just wondering, we've got a couple of the recommendations with the closing date of June 30th. How are we progressing on getting there?
I would say we're almost done. So for the ones, the auditor's process is really collaborative and really iterative. And so on some of the ones that we have identified, we took immediate action. We didn't wait until the report was done because we agreed with kind of what they had found. And so those ones that have June, we're confident in the June. And the ones that are a little longer, we're confident in the deadline, but they are going to take us a little longer.
But they are going to take some time. Okay, perfect. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Public member Madamambe, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And given the last comments you just made, what are the measurable outcomes, performance improvement, outcomes that this committee should expect to see in the next few months?
So with the recommendations from the audit, I would suggest that we will have continuous improvement. We will enhance our, like one of the recommendations is around QA improvement. So that is a system improvement, but that is not going to have a material measurable result on what we have. I want to reinforce that this team is incredibly lean. So we only have 7 permanent FTE resources assigned to these cases to manage 3,000 cases, new cases a year. They get about 12 a day. They're averaging around 100 open cases at any given moment. And so to really materially change how we manage short-term disability to get more proactive case management, we are not yet resourced to do that. So I mentioned that we're going to implement these recommendations, but to see real change, we are going to need to think differently about how we are currently resourcing loss prevention. And so administration's taking that on right now, and then that would see a decrease in the amount of costs and the amount of hours as a total amount of the workforce and the total amount of the payroll costs. We would then expect to see those decrease.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah. And as a follow-up, how are you ensuring alignment with the overall HR strategy, occupational health and safety strategy, if there's such a thing?
Yeah, Dennis can maybe hit on the overall occupational health and safety strategy, but our goal with the positive employee experience is both that employees are working, that they are accommodated when they do have non-occupational injury. If life happens and if you have received an injury or an illness, we want to support you in that and then return you back. So that I think is very much in alignment, and everything that we do is part of that. And then I'll let Dennis speak to the alignment with the safety program.
Yeah, so we're taking a significant initiative at this time on our roadmap to loss prevention. So on all sides where we have loss within our organization, time loss, so whether it's sick, which is 1 to 5 days, STD, which is a non-occupational injury, into long-term disability, and then on the WCB side, which is the occupational side. So we have 4 different streams we're working on, and each of those streams have different strategies, whether it's from psychological wellness initiatives to working very closely with our occupational health and safety consultants and our disability management to work collaboratively with the leaders to help reduce lost time. So that can be done through many different ways. You create a safer workplace, you create a better psychologically safe workplace, and then when issues do occur, because they will, we're very proactive. We front-end load our files. We work collaboratively with the employee to help them ensure their health and their return to work as effectively as we can. And then where they need placements, we become more effective, which is one of the recommendations here today. And so overall, it's a significant matter that our city manager, Eddie, has identified that he wants to work on in the coming years. And it's one that we are taking very seriously, and we have a significant initiative on the way.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I have a question for the city auditor. From the work you did you observe any measurable financial exposure, risk, say for example, WCB or, absenteeism costs themselves as well?
So I think a lot of that is why we had this audit put in the plan in the first place. So there were some risks identified there. To be clear, this audit, the WC was out of scope of this audit. So this is meant to be more around the non-occupational side of it. But yeah, that's why like we could see those costs increasing, the absolute costs increasing. And that's why the audit got into the plan. So I definitely think the findings from the audit plus the work that was underway and will continue to be underway on the broader side of this is going to make a change.
Okay. And do you see an opportunity to link your WCB work to these results if it falls in scope at some point?
So we didn't do the WCB work. That was done through the branch. I'd maybe let Dennis speak to that.
Okay.
I can certainly speak to that. So yes, so although we have two programs, one for where issues occur at work and one where it's non-work related, whatever improvements we have on this from this audit will absolutely lend to improvements to our WCB work that we're doing. And the proactive loss prevention initiatives that we're taking are also going to help on this side. So yes, they are cross-assisting on both programs.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan?
Yeah, I'm looking at number 2 there, evaluate the branch's modified duty program and for its ability to facilitate employees' timely return to work. Thinking about my own time with transit and my experiences there. And thankfully, I've never been off, but I've watched a lot of operators and people off too. And something I witnessed and heard is a challenge to like be accommodated, I guess. So I appreciate this recommendation. Is there ability to work for like transit employees to work in other areas too, and like to accommodate some of that, or how does that work?
Yep, so we first look within the branch to accommodate within the current scope of the branch, and then if we're unable to accommodate the role there, then we go up to the department and then we'll cross the city. It does get a little bit more complex to, like I said, there's about 500 different cases that required accommodation. So to send 500, can anybody accommodate this across 30 branches? That logistically gets a little bit challenging. So those are some of the systems that we're working to improve. You do need to work with the union, so there is some agreement on getting some cross-collaboration with that. Not a hurdle, but just something that we have to work through. And that's one of the improvements and a specific example of where WCB, the non-occupational side and the occupational side, are doing the learnings together. We both have modifications that are required on both systems regardless of why you're off, and so that's one of the areas where we're collaborating.
Okay, and you mentioned working with the unions, and that's cool. Any other barriers at all that like would hinder that?
The specificity of some of the accommodations can get challenging. So trying to find, again, you want to make sure that you have a similar like compensation paid position. So trying to find something within a range of what an employee is able to do and then what they're modified for. That is a challenge. It is a matchmaking exercise, and then finding an available position. You always want modified work to be meaningful. We're trying not to make work positions. It needs to add productivity and ideally fill in a vacancy is our optimal space. So that's what we try to do. So there's some sequencing on how we fill those positions, but nothing, no big barriers, just process to work through.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer?
Thank you, Mayor Knack. I just wanted to ask a question just in terms of the unions. Is it my understanding, and is it correct, that if you work for another union, you cannot work for, you cannot work for 2 unions at the same time?
So it's not so much working for another union, it's an accommodation through the framework that we have through all of our unions. And so if in fact you are, and I have Liam here from the unions, if he wishes to provide some added clarity, and maybe Stacey has some detail on that, but we can do cross-union modified accommodations. There are processes in place that allow that, even though you're right, you don't work for 2 unions at the same time. Stacey?
Yeah, and I'll just add to that if there's anything beyond a certain time frame, we seek prior approval to the union to extend that accommodation, so we absolutely can. Yeah.
Okay, and there was a mention of how some JDAs were, 30 years old during the audit. And so what is the process for just refreshing people's jobs in JDAs as we move along?
A big difference between the job descriptions. So the job descriptions are relatively accurate. The physical demands analysis and the job demands analysis, those are some of the things that are out of date. Those are pretty intense. Stacey can jump in with some additional details, but those are done externally. They're done by an occupational therapist. They come and assess all of the physical challenges, demands of a role. And the business areas are really responsible for those. So we can encourage and ask and support them in doing that, but without those, we do end up doing the workarounds to assess the jobs as opportunities and needs for modified work arise.
And how many job descriptions do we have at the City of Edmonton?
We have over 950 jobs for the 11,500 employees.
And when is the last time that we've done an assessment of like GGFAs and all of those? Like when you actually do the architect for all of the job descriptions?
So we are currently assessing our job classification system, job architecture system, and I don't know what you want to put out there. I'm going to let Dennis answer that question.
Sure. So it is an initiative that we have that we are working through right now. So we're looking to bring a new architecture system into the organization. The system that we have right now has been in place for a long, long time, and it's not as aligned to standards, a point factor system, which we're looking to bring in that we've approved, and we're bringing it in the coming year. There's a lot of work as it relates to unionized positions as you bring these in, and so we haven't started any collaborative work on that, but we're working through the management side to start and then transition across. But as Catherine said, it's a very large undertaking, but it's one that we need to do. We need to maintain current, and so we are actively working on it.
I think that's great. I think when you have the right architect system, you're able to move throughout the city, and in any position, like in any large organization, you're able to see like for like throughout an organization. Just to have 950 different job descriptions, and maybe that is what's needed, but that's a lot. That is a lot. So I appreciate that. Because obviously one of the large numbers in the report is 11,850 days where people have had modified or have said that they could get modified work but not able to, if I'm reading that report correctly.
I don't know if that's in the auditor's report or in ours, but we do have, of all of that represents only less than 20% of all of the claims that we did find successful modification work. So of all of the modification requested, we successfully found a placement for both the hours and the number of claims at 75 and 77% rate successfully, and have done so since 2021 when we started tracking that information.
Yeah, I think you said 75%, so that's great. Yeah. It's great that we've been able to do that. It's also, when you talk about the matchmaking, are there areas of work that have, like, and I'm thinking like, I don't know, maybe 311's not the right, but are there branches in the city that can accommodate, who always have work, who are easier to match make than maybe a very specialized branch?
Stacey will be able to provide a bit more detail, but there are some teams that do have work available, but the specificity of the accommodations, maybe they can't be on the screens, maybe they can't be working for 8 hours a day, maybe they can't be, like, there's some limitations when we get those modified work, and Stacey can add some color to that.
Sorry. Yes. So there is certainly certain areas in which we can modify the role a little bit easier than other areas. We also have to be careful with that as well. We have to be careful with how much we accommodate within one.
I'm going to need a second round.
It's okay. There's nobody else on the board. I'm going to let this one slide. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So we do have to be careful a little bit with that, but we do try to find accommodations, and we're trying to also find more streamlined processes and technology in order to match them quicker to those jobs. So I think that job architecture system where we can find like for like will be a perfect opportunity for us to utilize that a little bit more efficiently.
Right. Oh, you do still have more questions. Okay, that's all right. All right. Well, your time's already started for your second round. Go ahead. There you go.
All right. Thank you. One of the things I wanted to ask is about the CRM system. How is that typically in governments, we don't have the most modernized systems when we're looking at case management. And so I wanted to understand from a city perspective where we're at.
not where we'd like to be. So the good news is the technology will be rolling into Enterprise Commons, so that it is set up. It's in what we call Stellus, and it'll be moving forward, and that will give us different capabilities once we get that system online as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's no other questions. I'll go, Councillor Wright, you selected it. Do you want to move the, or wait, no.
Is it a just received
Yeah, it's
for
just received for information, right?
So
we
we'll
actually-
just
So
take it.
it's received. We've received it. Wonderful news. That's it. No other questions, and this has been received for information.
Sorry, point of order.
Oh, yes.
We just, in the last one, we had a motion that said to approve the recommendations set out by the city auditor.
Yes, that was in 7.3, I think, because that was the external audit piece. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah,
Ginny?
we did need that one approved because we had the action plan in there.
Okay, so we didn't approve the other one that we passed at the beginning we didn't do a motion for the original, the one that we didn't select for debate.
Oh, I guess technically, yeah, 7.4, 7.5 were moved even though because we didn't select them for debate. Yeah, that's a good point. So if we're not selecting them for debate in the future and they're received for information, we'll figure out the right system. I'm still working with the clerk on that because I think we just have to stop actually putting recommendations for receipt for information on the report. So I'm going to work with the clerk on that because that does create, yeah, good
Okay, so
flag.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we're being consistent because one report's in the minutes going to say that we had a motion on it from the city auditor in the administration report, and one will now not.
Yeah, no, good flag, and I'll work with the clerk on that going forward, so that audit reports, when we're not selecting an audit for debate, that there doesn't need to be a separate motion to receive that. So, thank you for that. Great, wonderful. So there are no other items. I will do notices of motion and motions without customary notice. Seeing none, we are adjourned at 10:42. Thanks, everyone.